This is the fourth in a series of presentations on radiography of the skull in the veterinary patient. The intent of this presentation is to describe and provide examples of otitis in the dog and cat and temporal hyoid osteopathy in the horse. By the end of the presentation, I want you to be able to identify and describe the findings of otitis externa and media on a radiograph, as well as identify for any potential underlying causes you can determine. I also want you to be able to identify and describe findings of temporal hyoid osteopathy in the horse. Let's start with otitis. Often, it may be important to know if otitis media is present when you're considering treatment for the patient with chronic otitis externa. For example, you may need to determine if a bulla osteotomy is necessary when you are performing a total ear canal ablation. Radiographs may be helpful in evaluation of those patients, as we can assess for otitis externa changes as well as otitis media. Please keep in mind that otitis interna cannot be diagnosed on radiographs, but we can assess for otitis interna with CT and MRI. So when you're evaluating your radiographs for the signs that we'll talk about for otitis externa and media, it is important to evaluate for some underlying causes, such as in the cat, the nasopharyngeal polyp, but also for potential causes of trauma or even neoplasia, or even deep and larger seated infection. This slide depicts and lists the signs of radiographic changes that we might be able to identify. For otitis externa on a radiograph, we're going to look at the horizontal ear canals, and we can assess for narrowing or obliteration, increased soft tissue opacity, and even potentially mineralization in the real chronic otitis externa patients. We'll also want to assess the tympanic bulla and its cavity, and we can look for increased soft tissue or fluid opacity in the bulla. The wall of the bulla may also have changes such as thickening or periosteal reaction, as well as lysis, depending upon the underlying process. On the right of the slide is a dorsal ventral view of a patient where this patient has very chronic externa, otitis externa, and very severe diffuse mineralization of the external ear canals in the horizontal portion. The lumen still has some lucency, but notice that there is actually some stenosis as we get closer to the acoustic meatus. And then this is the region of the tympanic bullae that is superimposed over the petrous portion of the temporal bone. And if you compare the right side, which has some air-filled kind of lucency in it, the left side is quite sclerotic and more opaque. And so this patient probably needs more radiographs to be sure, but I would say that there is left-sided otitis media as well as severe bilateral chronic otitis externa. Here's another example of a dog that I have only 3 of the views of the complete bulla study, but these are the views that show us what we need to see. This is a dog that has chronic otitis externa presenting on the right. On the dorsal ventral view, the radiographic findings of the externa that we can see are on the right side. I don't see any air-filled lumen of that horizontal ear canal compared to the left side over here that has nice air within it. So increased soft tissue opacity, as well as kind of these odd regions of mineralization that are not actually following the expected area of the horizontal ear canal. On this view as well, when I look in the region of the tympanic bulla that are superimposed over the petrous portion of the temporal bone, the left side is more lucent because it still has air in it compared to the right side, which is more opaque. But we're going to have to now look at these oblique views that are really very beneficial views when we're looking for the bulla, because they show us one bulla without superimposition over other structures. The view in the middle is the left over right oblique, and so this is the right bulla that we can nicely assess. The left bulla is superimposed over the rest of the skull, and the view on the right is the right over left oblique, which shows us nicely the left tympanic bulla, and again, the right bulla is going to be superimposed over the rest of the skull. So we look at the affected right side. This right bulla has more opacity within its cavity, so soft tissue opacity. Compare that to the normal air-filled cavity of the left side. And then the wall of the tympanic bulla is very thick and has kind of this irregular periosteal reaction on the right compared to the normal thin wall on the left. So this dog presents for otitis externa and has right-sided otitis media. Now, the one thing that concerns me a little bit about this kind of soft tissue lesion affecting the right ear canal with this oddly oriented dystrophic mineralization is whether or not there could actually be a mass here, which could be like a neoplastic mass. So he'll need further workup. This is an example of a cat that is presenting for otitis externa on the left. Again, we have a nice dorsal ventral view, which shows us the horizontal ear canals. So this view, I like to evaluate that. And if we look on the left side here, there is no air within the left horizontal ear canal. There's just soft tissue opacity compared to the right side. And then on the dorsal ventral view, we can also see that this left tympanic bulla has kind of like a larger, more opaque or sclerotic appearance, especially this would be like the petrous portion of the temporal bone compared to the right side. Now, cats always have more opaque or sclerotic petrous portions of the temporal bone compared to the dog, but we can see that there's lack of symmetry left to right. On the right over left oblique, this is our left tympanic bulla, the right one's up here, and on the left over right oblique, this is the right tympanic bulla, and the left one is superimposed. Compare the affected left side where there is increased soft tissue opacity and thickening of the wall of the bulla compared to the normal right side. Interesting thing about cats is they do actually have two large chambers within the bulla compared to the dog, and so it does look a little bit different. Even though part of it is more opaque and sclerotic, part of it seems more lucent still. So probably the entirety of the bulla is not affected. It turns out that this cat actually had an avulsion of this left ear canal deep, closer to the external acoustic meatus. And so this was a traumatic cause of both the otitis externa and the otitis media. We'll finish out with a brief discussion on a disorder called temporal hyoid osteopathy in horses. And it's not a super common thing that you'll probably see in your practice. However, we do get horses presented with this and actually take quite a few skull radiographs assessing for it. So I thought it was something that we should talk about. Temporal hyoid osteopathy is a process that affects the articulation of the stylohyoid bone and the temporal bone in horses. And it oftentimes causes clinical signs of peripheral vestibular disease and facial nerve paralysis. And then those signs are sometimes associated with the specific radiographic changes we're going to talk about. The cause isn't known, but it is possible, and why I include it in this lecture is that it could be an extension of otitis media and externa. However, it is known that there is age-related degeneration and also potential biomechanical strain on the temporal hyoid joint from the hyoid apparatus. So some other things that have been proposed. Radiographic findings can include irregular increased bone opacity, or usually periosteal reaction, in the region of the acoustic meatus and the region of the articulation of the stylohyoid bone and the petrous temporal bones. Keep in mind that the horse does not have a nice air-filled cavity of the tympanic bulla, so it does look more sclerotic anyway, so we'll try to compare one side to the other. It most oftentimes has periosteal reaction or proliferation and thickening of the stylohyoid bone on the affected side. And then the thing that can happen is that these can fuse, so you can actually get fusion of that joint. And when that happens, then due to the biomechanical strain that's put on that joint, the stylohyoid bone can fracture. And sometimes these patients can actually present with signs of hemorrhage from that. This is a patient that has pretty severe temporal hyoid osteopathy on the right side. So the views that'll be beneficial, I have talked about in our first presentation. Certainly the dorsal ventral view that is at the caudal aspect of the skull, where we will be able to assess, and this is the normal side I'm showing you, the stylohyoid bone and the area of the tympanic bulla. So this is a normal side on this horse. Compare that to the right side, where the right stylohyoid bone is quite thick compared to the left side. And then this region of the kind of petrous temporal bone and tympanic bulla is markedly enlarged compared to the left side and very opaque and sclerotic. This is a lateral view. Typically, the oblique views are going to be most beneficial, but I only had a lateral view in this patient. And so we're looking at this area in the patient. This is the mandible here. This is the stylohyoid bone that's affected. And if you compare this to a normal, this is quite thickened and irregular, a little bit non-uniform in its opacity. And there is proliferation that is all the way up to the area of the tympanic bulla and that articulation here. And so this actually appears to be fused in this patient. This is a different patient that is less affected, similar views on this patient. The right side is also affected on this patient, so notice the right stylohyoid bone proximally here is thickened compared to the normal left side. There seems to be more proliferation, especially toward midline here, and this is the region of that tympanic bulla, petrous temporal bone, and that is also enlarged and sclerotic compared to the left side. It's less visible in this horse because it's milder, but again, this is the area that we want to look at on the lateral view, and there is some excess bone, some thickening of this proximal part of the stylohyoid bone. This is normal anatomy on the stylohyoid bone, and I'm not sure if I can see a joint between the region of the temporal bone and the stylohyoid bone, so this may also have fusion. Neither of these patients have fractures, but we could identify potentially a fracture line through a portion of the stylohyoid bone. Again, I'll encourage you to look at the listed chapter and pages, and in the clinical radiology of the horse, especially to look at the temporal hyoid osteopathy, and you'll be able to see more examples and get some more explanation.